Welcome to the Female Founder Friday podcast, a collection of inspiring conversations with the most interesting female entrepreneurs and small business owners. I'm your host, Lindsay White, and together with my incredible guests, we'll explore the struggles of being a female entrepreneur, the most important lessons, and the future of women leaders in business. And I'm passionate about helping female entrepreneurs become the calm, confident leader their team and their business really need. And that's why I've recently launched my 6-week mental fitness bootcamp. This amazing program will help you tackle that inner critic, tame your saboteurs, and really tap in to that sage inner voice and help you build the mental muscles you need to overcome the changes and challenges you're facing right now. If you're ready to transform your leadership and your life, connect with me today at highvoltageleadership.ca/positive intelligence to learn more. My guest on this week's episode is Dr. Leslie Bosch. Now, after completing her PhD in family studies and human development, Dr. Leslie realized that she had a whole lot more to learn about health and wellness and self-care. And it was really through her own journey that she discovered a holistic coaching program that truly changed her life. And now, as a board-certified health and wellness coach, she is super passionate about guiding others in their process and working through some of their most challenging moments in their lives. And like so many of us, she is constantly faced by the duality of the passion for her business and her practice, and also the practicalities of building and running an organization while she continues to learn and grow as a female founder. It's something I know that we've all experienced. So you're really going to love this conversation today, as Dr. Leslie has a ton to offer us, both as female founders as well as women in leadership. Awesome. Okay, Dr. Leslie, I am really glad to have you as a guest here on the podcast today. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to join you. I'm really excited.
Oh, good. Me too. Because I know a little bit about your journey to being a female founder, but I'm sure there's a whole lot more to the story. So I'm excited to learn more. Tell us what that looks like.
Well, I'll start at the very beginning. No, I'm kidding. I'll start at the point where I basically finished my PhD in family studies and human development, because that was about 10 years ago. And I was really eager actually to get a job in student services at a university, supporting young people and advising them as they were becoming their, adult selves.
Yeah.
And I tried to get a job, and actually it was really challenging, and I couldn't find one. I couldn't land one. So I started to think to myself, what else can I do? Because I really want to be able to use all this really valuable information that I learned about human development in supporting other people as they are sort of grappling with their challenges in their life. So I started to think about I thought about going into counseling and things like that, but again, it's another huge slog with regard to another program of study. So I looked into coaching, and that's really when I found the Andrew Weil Center for Integrative Medicine. And it was like, oh, this is perfect, because it really takes a holistic approach to health and wellness. And I thought this will be a good place for me to get started.
Awesome. I love that. I love that that's where your journey sort of took you.
Yeah, it was really great. And I didn't realize, when I started taking the coursework, I was really actually quite amazed, shocked and amazed at how little I really knew about self-care. So that really was, in the same way that I was really shocked and amazed about how little I knew about human development, I was also, again, shocked and amazed. And so my journey about learning all of the information about health, and basically the integrative approach looks at 7 core areas. So essentially it's getting best practice around sleep, nutrition, movement, relationships, resilience, which is really about stress management, spirituality, which is really about purpose and feeling really connected to your values and with a sense of integrity. And then finally, environment, which is really about making sure that your environments are free of pollutants as much as possible, neat and tidy, well organized, and also about nature, making sure that you're getting enough exposure to nature.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. I think that's part of our problem, isn't it? Is that we focus on one or two of these things without sort of bringing them all together. And that's where we end up thinking, geez, I'm doing so much to try and care for myself, and it's not working. Right?
Yes. And it is so challenging to get all the balls in the air because there's always, something that's usually presenting, or giving us fits or giving us challenges.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so you take this holistic integrative program, and then what?
Yeah. So the first thing that happened, right, was yes, exactly. Well, first of all, I started to clean up my act because you can imagine the
Yeah,
first, the
right?
first part, the first homework assignment is to start moving yourself, towards from where you are towards those, a reflection of best practice. And started feeling like so much better that I got really excited about it. And that's really sort of when I took it to the next level and really became a national board certified health and wellness coach. And then that's when I started my business.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about that. Like who do you work with? What kind of people come to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's really fun because clients come to me from all walks of life at all stages in their life, grappling with a variety of different challenges. But usually those things turn around stressful situations in their life. Like, for instance, if they get a new health diagnosis, or they find that they're just now retiring, or they're struggling with stress eating, and they want to be able to lose some weight. These types of things. Some people around empty nesting, some people around whether or not they should leave a relationship, some people around whether or not what they want to do next in their careers. So it's really sort of, I sit with people and help them to think about or process or work through challenging situations.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the theme there really is people are at a bit of a fork in the road, if you will, in terms of some big momentous thing has happened in their world, their health, their relationship, what have you, that's really caused them, it sounds like, to take a second look at, like, what am I doing? Right? And how is that serving me or not, perhaps?
Exactly. And it's really nice to be able to have somebody, as you know, to just sort of have, it's like a thought partner, somebody who helps you think through things, a sounding board, somebody who might have some suggestions, somebody who might have a different perspective or take, but essentially just somebody to help you think through this challenging opportunity.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I love that. And what about in your business? Like, how have you built out your practice? What does that look like?
Well, actually, this is one of the things that's really challenging because it's really marketing, right? Marketing is one of the most challenging parts of being in business.
It totally is. Yeah.
And I've been in business for almost 2 years now, and this is the biggest challenge, really trying to figure out how am I going to market my business? Where are my customers? How can I find them? How can I talk about the benefits really of health and wellness coaching, stress management coaching? Because a lot of people are not really thinking, hey, you know what I need? I need a coach.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It is the challenge. And do you find it also, Dr. Leslie, around, you and I are really passionate about helping people, but there is the business piece, like the actual being a businesswoman, running of the business, right? Two very different views of what you do. Yes?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. There really is the challenge for me. Like, it's one thing, I know I'm a great coach, but being a great businesswoman is really challenging.
It is. And I think, what I encounter, and I don't know if you see this as well, is, I mean, I work with women like us, right? Female business owners who are often mothers, so we're, busy in both elements of their lives. And it is really tricky because we're so passionate about what we do or who we serve or even the product that we sell. And then what ends up happening is we have a whole load of other responsibilities around the actual logistics of the business, right? Whether it's the bookkeeping or the marketing, the social media, the strategic planning, maybe there's financing you need, business development, right? The sales piece. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, coming from academia, I came from a corporate environment, but I was in human resources. We don't have to sell anything, right? Like that's a whole different skill set, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And in some ways, I have to admit, candidly, I was really furious when I found out, because it's a real, like, yeah, it was just like, why didn't somebody warn me?
Yes.
And I really understand that I kind of felt like, oh, I went into the wrong academic program. I really should have gone into marketing, because again, the expertise that's required to be good at marketing is pretty extensive.
Yeah.
And, to just sort of jump in and think that you're going to just whip this up on the fly and make this happen in order to sell your business is crazy. It's a real disservice to business owners to really understand what it's going to take. So I think for me, that is really the biggest eye-opening that I've had, is really just how challenging it is to take your product to market.
Yes, like what it actually takes to run an effective business. I mean, anybody can run a failing business. To run an effective business and to build it and to still stay connected to what you're passionate about. And actually, I think what a great theme to bring into this podcast and this conversation, because I know that so many female founders struggle with that, right? How do you balance the passion for what you do with how you have to run the business in order to do that? And that's very difficult to keep your feet in both places without all of the frustration, the anxiety, and still playing to that zone of genius, right? Knowing when you're outside of that zone and asking for help. Because that's a tricky thing to do, isn't it?
Well, and it's even trickier to find good help.
Yes, well said.
So I think that this is really the challenge. This is the other thing too, because I want desperately to find somebody, that I can be in partnership with around this, like forever and amen. But again, finding especially with marketing, it really is a challenge to try and figure out what is really going to work. And even though you feel you want to hold these folks, put their feet to the fire, come on, you got to return on investment or else, like I want to see results. It's not how marketing works. It's really kind of a trial and error. Right. And you really have to be able to hang in there. And I really appreciated what you said about the anxiety, because it's like, for me, so much of what I do, for me, the biggest changes that I made, as I mentioned, to my wellness routine was really around stress management. I even created my signature program, which is called the Stress Reset Program, which actually has 5 science-backed strategies that actually work together synergistically to really sort of take the negative effects of stress out of the equation so that you can really optimize your response to stress. And I'll tell you, in my business, I am pulling on these strategies constantly. Because you really do find yourself, that mindset piece is huge. And trying to keep yourself like, okay, Leslie, you've got your plan, work your plan. Okay, that didn't work. What's next? Trying not to beat myself up over why didn't I understand that? Why can't I understand that? Why didn't I know about this before? Trying ongoingly to be using the strategies to keep myself on track and to keep myself up and running. And like you said, connected to what I care about, but on task with regard to jumping the hurdles, running the gauntlet, as it were.
Yeah, I love that you practice what you preach. I personally believe that is critical. Yeah, this is me, but I often say, if you encounter a coach that isn't actively participating with their own coach doing their own work, they're total garbage, quite frankly, right? We absolutely have to be constantly doing our own work, our own personal development, because through that learning and that experience, we can keep connected, empathetic, and vulnerable with our own clients, right? So if we are not constantly leaning on the things that we are learning in our own journey, I don't think we can add the same kind of value. I just don't, right? It's the same
Yeah.
reason we do, professional development in all of our different designations and certifications. We have to keep our skills alive. And the only way to do that as a coach is to participate with your own coach. That's my personal philosophy anyways.
Yes, absolutely. Personal growth and development is like huge. And when you're in your own business, it seems more than ever.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I want to ask you this. You've been in business for a couple of years on your own now. Where have you made, mistakes or messed it up? And what have you learned from that?
Well, again, candidly, I think we've already sort of talked about a lot of the
Mm,
mistakes. But number one, I think, is just sort of getting into it and being very naive about what I could expect. And I think, just like what you're saying, one of the biggest things I've learned from that is just, yeah, to try and get, more appropriate, realistic expectations. And then, of course, like you mentioned, to start learning, start pulling on board experts who can help you gear up, who can help you get up to speed. Again, as I mentioned with my own stress management, to
uh,
just keep working with that so that you're able to stay in the game and not get knocked out, sidelined, lose days or weeks because you're so discouraged or depressed about what's going on, or how much overwhelmed by how much there is to do, so that you really are just staying in play.
I love that. And I do think, it is really, I think it is such a valuable comment. And I think it's such a universal experience that we all, especially those of us that have gone into business for the very first time, there's always, no matter how prepared you are, there's things that you don't expect. But particularly for so many of us, we really don't. We really go in a little bit naive, a little bit blind, a little bit excited. Woohoo, we're going to start our own business. It's going to be great. And then the reality of the to-do list, the expectation, and the hard work that you have to put in can be a little overwhelming, can be a lot overwhelming, is the truth.
Yeah.
So I actually think that's really important to offer to listeners. Like, if that's how you feel, you are not alone. It is not abnormal. You are not crazy or weird or having an outside experience. Even the most well-educated still come to this solopreneur entrepreneur game, and feel a little bit overwhelmed at first. And having some tools that you can use individually. I would also add having a great network, having those cheerleaders, those support people. And some of those can be personal, whether it's your best friend or your partner or your parents, or right, that group of friends. You need to have that counsel that's going to support you. And then, yes, I think finding the right experts in the right moments, it is crucial. You need people who are good at the things you aren't in order to move yourself and your business forward. Have I articulated that well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, again, for me, another challenge is really being able to, yeah, a lot of it is learning about who to hire, how you know what you're looking for. So there's a lot in there about figuring out, especially around marketing, what you need, what's going to be your best approach.
Yeah, I really love that comment about who and how to hire. And I work with clients on a fairly regular basis about making sure that they are clear, right? They are clear on what they need and who they need and how those people are going to fit into their business. What kinds of values do they need to have in order to be able to be effective inside of the organization and the culture that they're already starting to build? And certainly, how are you going to show up for them? How are you going to lead, whether they're an employer or a contractor? Because likely at first, they are some kind of consultant or contractor, but still, how are you going to be effective for them? Because I think that sometimes is the part we miss as well.
Absolutely. I think taking, even when you hire somebody to help you, still taking responsibility
Oh,
for the for the process, for how they're doing, for what you get out of it, for, getting the value. Again, to be more proactive in
Yeah,
your dealings. Yeah.
totally. And how you connect and communicate with them,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
I think that's really important. Okay, I love that. Those are really wonderful things to offer someone who is listening today. So I ask all of my guests this because I think it actually is, first of all, I think it's really interesting to hear the answers, but tell me, how do you lead, or what does leadership mean to you?
I think that's such a great question. For me, I think leadership really is sort of that by example. I tend to think like model the behavior really. For I know when I'm with clients, I'm always sort of modeling behavior for them about how they can
Yes.
be
Mhm.
different with themselves,
Mhm.
and in that way that so they have kind of a new role model or a new example.
Mhm.
um, I think leadership is also, I like to think of it also as a collaboration in which you really do allow people also to shine in their strengths, and you do respect what they are bringing to the table. I think as somebody with a PhD, I really do understand through that process the value of expertise and how difficult it really is to become a subject matter expert, whatever your genius is.
Yeah.
This is not something that is done easily. This is not
Oh.
something that is really something that needs to be respected and valued,
Mhm.
and whatever form it takes. So I think working collaboratively with people and always remembering to allow them to shine as well in their subject matter expertise.
You know what? I really love that. And I think it's Richard Branson that said something to the effect of, why would you hire really smart people and not let them do what they're really good at? And I'm paraphrasing there, but I've always, as someone who's been involved in HR and talent management for many years, I've always thought that, man, that just made so much sense. Like, be respectful of the value that they're bringing to your business. Let them do the things that they are really good at and add the value in the way that you intended, right? Like,
Yeah.
like you said it, let them shine. I love that. But I think sometimes that's hard, when we have so much passion and so much invested in our businesses. That can be tricky, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's like what you're saying, the fine line between taking ownership, because this is my business, and ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, I find this a lot with marketers, they showing you how to present your business, but is that feel like me? And would
Yes.
I feel that at the end of the day, that is a reflection of who I am or a reflection of my business? So sort of like you have to be in the leadership role, you have to be in the driver's seat there, helping to make those decisions, even though they are expert in marketing, if that makes sense. So you kind
Yeah.
of has to, I think you have to dance the line.
The word dance was in my head. So I'm glad you said that, because that's really what it is, isn't it? Demonstrating the behavior that you want others to demonstrate. I mean, I think that just makes sense. And then when are the moments that you need to step forward and really be that present and in front leader? And then when are the moments that you need to step to the back and allow other people to lead? How can you be collaborative from that back of the room sort of leadership style? When do you need to work hand in hand and co-lead something? So this is a leadership model that I work with quite a bit, because I think that it makes sense that we can kind of two-step around in the ways that we lead and the ways we show up in our business, if you will,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that, I think that's such a great metaphor. And then I remember Ginger Rogers that always did it backwards and in heels, right? I don't know, there's something about that in there too, that as female founders, we're kind of doing it backwards and in heels a lot of times, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is one of really what's tied to my passion, really, about wanting to empower women to have that bigger impact, without sacrificing their health, their well-being, or their personal relationships in order to do it, so that
Yeah.
we can we can get more women in leadership roles, so that we can absolutely balance the power that we see in society, and in that way really improve conditions for everybody.
Yeah, I love that as a mission, right? We need more women in leadership. Inside of bigger organizations, we need more women leading teams. We need more women, leading in their own businesses and building cultures from the ground up, really. We need more women who know how to lead authentically and with passion and with heart in those spaces where we can, really start to make an impact. I couldn't agree more.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, this has just been a remarkable conversation. Thank you so much. And I appreciate that you've been very candid with us today about some of the things that you've struggled with in your own practice, and really given us some great ideas around how we can lean into the struggles that we're having, and maybe shift, and in that more holistic way, come out the other side feeling really great about our businesses, but also our relationships in our life. So thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful to have you on the show.
Well, thanks so much for letting me come here. And yes, here again, if people can use assistance with that self-care piece, I'm happy to serve. And definitely we need that self-care piece to be front and center. Otherwise, we really won't have the wherewithal to serve our missions. So it's really critical.
100%. And we're going to make sure that if you want to connect with Dr. Leslie, we're going to make sure that we have a variety of links for you to get involved and get connected with her in the show notes. So make sure that you check those out, and then you can touch base with her directly and have a conversation. So that would be fantastic.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Absolutely my pleasure. To everyone tuning in today, thank you again for listening to the Female Founder Friday podcast. I really love Dr. Leslie's passion for supporting women in having a greater impact as a leader without sacrificing their own health and well-being. I think that's something that we are all looking to do as female founders. You can find out more about Dr. Leslie and the incredible work she does on her website, which is boschintegrativewellness.com. And of course, you can find out more about me on Instagram, and my handle there is @HighVoltLeadership. The Female Founder Friday podcast has a goal to impact 1,000 listeners, and it would mean the world to me if you left this episode a 5-star review and shared it with all your friends. Let's engage 1,000 female entrepreneurs and really amplify the message. Thanks again for being a part of the show, and don't forget to connect with me at highvoltageleadership.ca.